Hello the peoples, my name is Factor, an RNG Factor, and today I'm here to make a point I was wholeheartedly against for, about 14 years now. I had to completely re-skipped the entirety of my time with Brawl because nearing the end of the completion aspect, I made a huge discovery. Brawl is a complete and utter waste of your time. Competitively. Now this particular video is going to be a one-shot for the entirety of Brawl, because frankly, going over every character, item, and stage is going to be addressed lightly here, but not everything individually. And I think you'll even agree with me on some things. What's some of the things you hear when it comes to Brawl? Mainly from melee players and veterans of Ultimate, huh? The movement is slow, Subspace Emissary is amazing, and it has the best story, and tripping is really fucking annoying. I want to address these 3 points, but I'm going to start with the one that's going to bring everything together at the end. Subspace Emissary. Now let's start off with this. Was Subspace just as amazing as I remembered it to be? Yes. And no. And yes. And no, it's complicated. Each stage boils down to maybe watch some cutscene, run right, finish, maybe boss battle, maybe another cutscene. Do this like 30 times until you get to the best part, which is, of course, the Great Maze. Here's my problem with the game, though. It drags. In a good way. There is, like, a boatload of filler. But it's fun. It's a fun filler time. And you don't really ask why you're doing what you're doing, because every 2D side-scroller teaches you to run right for no other reason than objective that way. So the question becomes, what is the story? Why are you playing this? Well, let's do a small summary of that in one sentence. Go! Bunch of Robs are using dimensional bombs to suck in land because the boss's boss said so, and we have no idea why. No, I'm serious, that's the story. Now, of course, it's a bit more complicated than that, and there's a few twists in the middle, with the beginning feeling more like a cameo movie than food fight, but essentially that's what we're doing. But is it still worth it? Yes, absolutely, yes, it is, 100%, it is 100% worth it. It's almost like the entire game was built for the purpose of that story and to have the selling feature of Nintendo Wii Online. Which leads me to one of my personal criticisms. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is 2 games. It's multiplayer with classic modes, and it's Subspace Emissary, and they do not mix. In fact, let's do a test. Alright, you two, you're Subspace and you're Classic. I'm going to ask you two one simple question. Is Brawl slow? No! Yes. Okay, now switch. Is Brawl slow? Yes! No. And here's where my issues lie, and it's the same thing with that stupid, dumb, idiotic, really not fun tripping. Does tripping seem like a good idea for balance? From the outside, I still think it does, but in execution, it's annoying as crap when you're trying to beat something difficult. However, you don't really care about tripping or the game being slow when you're heading from point A to B without too much trouble, and the journey is filled with dramatic backgrounds and stage hazards and a metric ton of different enemies to fight. Switching between the two literally feels completely different to play. Now, what I'm not saying is, oh man, this game sucks and it's boring. No. It's still fun. Maybe not to complete, but it's definitely fun to play, especially for just the Subspace story alone. But what I am saying is that this game will teach you bad habits. Bad habits? You might be thinking. And yes, I mean that. I'm not recommending training in Brawl to get better at other games because of that. C-stick smash attacks don't charge, so that muscle memory is gone. Everyone seems to have a fairly similar movement, minus a few exceptions, so you get used to how most people should play, instead of getting a feeling for different speeds. Outside of boss battles, the game is incredibly easy. You get so many coins from Subspace Run, which I know you're going to do first, so you can brute force Intense Mode on All-Star and Classic Mode. Not to mention the events have a hard setting that should have just been called Normal Mode. By the end, you start looking at the challenge board and realize that the moment you beat boss battles on Intense Mode, the rest is purely just a grind until you win. Well, I guess 100-man melee is somewhat difficult. So, where do I go from here, huh? Do I talk about the new stages and items anyway? Do I talk about the characters, mention Wolf was my main, and then outline how I didn't really like anyone else I played with? Do I just forget I even made this video and make the same things I've always been making? No, I'm not. I'm not analyzing this. In fact, the moment I finished Subspace Emissary, all I wanted to do was complete the challenge board because I had never done it before. Well, here you go. It's beat. It took an unholy amount of boring hours, and it wasn't worth it in the slightest. Now, I'm not going to be all doom and gloom about this. Brawl does some things right outside of Subspace. All of the single-player classics are here. Boss battles are still fun as all get out. The coin launcher is still one of the funnest things to do. Brawl still makes me hate Ness, so that didn't change. The amount of new stages are impressive, iconic, and still used to Ultimate to this day. And there's 41 distinct enough characters, which is pretty impressive for any fighting or party game. I still recommend Subspace, but I'm not playing Brawl competitively, and 99% of the single-player non-Subspace gets rehashed or dropped for good reason for later games. Wait a second. I set out to disprove a series of complaints I heard about a Smash game, and then ended up agreeing with those same complaints at the end. Again! And they got rid of Pichu, those heck! So, yeah, that was the thing. I know it was more of a shorter video, but I didn't want to drag on to the points more than I needed to, not to mention doing the challenge board, which was only really shown for a few seconds, took so many outside hours of my life to beat, to the point where I started resenting it real bad, and I had to take a few breaks a couple times. Anyway, we're done with this, and we're going to be moving on to Smash 4. Going to be streaming that soon, so get ready for it. Thank you so much for being here, and I will have more stuff for you later. This is your RNG Factor, signing off.